He pulled me into the dark room, and what happened taught me everything about power and boundaries. Sometimes a moment catches you off guard, not because of what happens, but because of what it reveals about control, trust, and self-respect. This is the story of how one unexpected encounter changed the way I understand emotional safety forever. 1. The moment. How being caught off guard in a private space can trigger fear, curiosity, or vulnerability. 2. Emotional power dynamics, recognizing when someone is asserting dominance or testing boundaries. 3. Body language and consent, reading signals and why mutual respect is non-negotiable. 4. Psychology of attraction, under pressure, how adrenaline, secrecy, and confusion can distort judgment. 5. Learning to pause, how to ground yourself and take back emotional control. 6. Healthy communication, turning awkward or tense moments into honest conversations. 7. Rebuilding trust, what both men and women can do after boundary testing experiences. 8. Cultural silence around power and desire, why it's hard to talk about and how education helps. 9. The doctor-therapist view, how professionals describe emotional safety and trauma response. 10. The lesson, real strength isn't about domination, it's about awareness and mutual respect. Every powerful connection begins where awareness replaces impulse. What once felt confusing or overpowering can become a moment of clarity, a lesson about boundaries, confidence, and self-worth. The dark room wasn't about fear or desire. It was about realizing the light you carry inside when you finally understand your own limits. It happened when the lights flickered that moment, when silence felt louder than words. I didn't expect him to be there, standing in the doorway of the old laundry room. There was something different in the air that night, like the world had paused just long enough for two people to lose balance and fall into something they didn't plan. No one spoke. No one had to. The space between us said everything. The laundry room was dim, the hum of the old dryer echoing like a heartbeat. He moved closer not with demand, but with presence. It wasn't about control or chaos, it was about energy. The kind that pulls two people together when they should be walking away. I could feel his hesitation, that flicker of conscience behind his steady eyes. He wasn't trying to own the moment, he was trying to understand it. We weren't supposed to be here not like this, not together. But sometimes, connection doesn't wait for permission, it just happens. There was no noise, no chaos, just the sound of breath and heartbeat, two rhythms trying to find a single pace. He reached for my hand, gently, not forcefully, and everything slowed down. The tension wasn't about touch, it was about trust. His voice was low, almost trembling. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. Yet his eyes said the opposite. I wanted to answer, but words felt heavy, unnecessary. Some emotions don't need language. They exist between glances, in pauses, in that quiet space where two people forget the world for a second. That night wasn't about what happened, it was about what it meant. About vulnerability, restraint, and the strange gravity that pulls two people into each other's orbit, only to remind them how fragile desire can be when laced with emotion. When I walked out of that room, I realized something. Real connection doesn't come from chaos or rebellion, it comes from understanding. Sometimes, the most powerful moments aren't about what you do, but about what you feel. He didn't need to say anything, and neither did I. The silence between us carried more meaning than 1,000 words ever could. That night, under the hum of the dryer and the flicker of half-broken lights, we learned something rare, that sometimes what you resist defines you more than what you chase. And maybe that's what real intimacy is, not losing yourself in someone, but finding a reflection of who you are when no one's watching. They say you never forget the moment that changes the way you see someone, not because of what they said, but because of how they looked at you. That night in the dark laundry room wasn't supposed to mean anything, but it did. It meant everything. The next morning, I couldn't shake the memory, the silence, the electricity, the look that carried 1,000 untold words. It wasn't lust. It wasn't love. It was something in between, raw, confusing, yet painfully real. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, painting quiet stripes on the floor. The house was calm, but my heart wasn't. Every corner of my mind replayed that night, not in scenes, but in sensations. The air, the distance, the warmth that lingered long after he'd gone. I tried to distract myself, coffee, music, even meaningless conversations, but everything felt empty. It wasn't him I missed, it was the moment, that strange, fleeting pause in life where everything felt dangerously honest. Later that day, I saw him again by the hallway, near the same doorway. The air shifted instantly, just like before. He didn't say my name, and I didn't say his, but our eyes met, and in that split second, we both knew something had changed. He approached careful, almost hesitant. His tone was soft but edged with tension. I didn't mean to, he started, then stopped mid-sentence. I smiled faintly. Neither did I. But we both knew meaning doesn't always need planning. Sometimes the heart moves before logic even wakes up. He leaned against the wall, hands in his pockets, trying to act casual, but his eyes gave him away. They were tired, curious, maybe even scared. Because we both felt it, the invisible pull that no one talks about. Not yet. In that quiet hallway, there was a peace between us, the kind that comes only when two people understand each other without speaking. That evening, as the sky turned gold and blue, he finally spoke the words I'd been avoiding. "I don't know what happened last night," he said, "but I haven't stopped thinking about it." I looked down, my fingers tracing the edge of the laundry counter. "It wasn't supposed to mean anything," I whispered, though every word trembled with doubt. He took a step closer, not demanding, just steady like someone trying to stand in a storm. "Maybe it wasn't supposed to," he said softly, "but it did." Silence again, heavy, charged, and too honest to ignore. We didn't need to go back into that dark room. The memory of it was enough. It wasn't about repeating what happened, it was about understanding why it happened. Sometimes people cross paths not to fall in love, but awake something in each other, something buried deep, forgotten, or feared. And maybe that's what this was, a reminder that connection doesn't always have to be permanent to be powerful. That night taught me something important. Real moments don't ask for permission, and real feelings don't need labels. It's not always about passion or perfection. Sometimes it's about standing in the quiet with someone who really sees you and realizing that the smallest spark can leave the deepest mark. He didn't pull me close again. He didn't have to like. The story had already written itself in the spaces between our words. And in that silence, if finally understood, note every connection ends in forever. Some are just meant to teach you what forever should feel like. That night stayed with me longer than I expected, not because of what happened, but because of what didn't. There was no grand confession, no cinematic kiss, no promises written in the dark, just two people, caught between right and real, learning how fragile silence can feel when it's filled with meaning. Days passed. The house returned to its normal rhythm, the hum of the washing machine, the smell of coffee in the kitchen, the sound of life continuing as if nothing had changed. But inside, everything had. Every time I walked past that laundry room, I felt it again, that strange pulse of memory, not guilt, not regret, just the reminder that sometimes a single moment can open your eyes to the kind of connection you didn't even know you were missing. He and I never talked about it again. But there were glances, small, unspoken acknowledgments that said, "I remember too." And that was enough. Because maybe life isn't always about chasing what could have been. Maybe it's about honoring what was, the brief electric proof that two souls can collide, change each other, and still walk away as strangers who once understood something no one else could. As the days faded into weeks, the memory softened like a photograph left in sunlight. But even now, when the night gets quiet, I can still hear it. That heartbeat of a moment that didn't need to last forever to mean forever. And that's the truth most people never admit. Sometimes the most unforgettable stories are the ones that never get told aloud. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share.